Hello, hello, and welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley. For the next hour here on Verbling, we are going to continue a class from yesterday looking at the definite article, the. What is the most common in the English language? Answer, the. Okay, so learning proper usage of this article is pretty essential to to using English, really. Okay, very difficult and challenging as many languages do not use articles whatsoever. Today, in our last class, we kind of focused on the general usage and general rules of using the, and some of the kind of key things to remember when deciding whether to use the or not. I'll briefly touch on those, but our main focus of today's class is looking at specifics, and that is to say specific special uses of the and special exceptions to using the, of which I have the unfortunate job of telling you there are quite a few, enough to fill up an hour's worth of class. Perhaps if we have time at the end of class, we'll test ourselves with a little fill in the blank articles test. We'll see how far we get. Later in the week, just to mention, I will be doing a class on the indefinite article, that is to say a and an. Today, our main focus, again, the special uses of the article the. Hello, Heidi. Welcome back.
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Okay. Well, all right, plenty of room in the class for others to join us. Come on in anytime. And I'm going to get started because, again, I have quite a bit of material to look at. All right, real briefly, I want to a brief summary review of the main things from last class before we get to our special uses. I want to just quickly go through main points of the general use of the. Okay, and here we go. All right. One way to think about it, one way to consider if you need to use the word the. Ask yourself these three questions. All right. The most basic question is the noun indefinite or unspecified, in which case, if it's an uncountable noun, you would use no article. If it's a countable noun, then you would use a or an. Or is it definite? Thus the definite article, meaning is it specific? Do we know exactly which one it is? The weird thing about using articles is that the speaker is assuming what the listener knows. Okay, most of English is from the speaker's perspective. However, the use of articles, strangely enough, is the choice of the article is based on what you believe the listener knows. Okay, so that's a little weird, but so when you think about is it unspecified or specified, you're thinking is it specified or unspecified to the listener? Does the listener know exactly which one you're talking about or not? Underlying this first question, the general rule states that the first mention of a noun is indefinite, and after that, then you use the. A man is walking down the road. There is a dog, first mention of a dog with the man. The man, second uses in any uses thereafter, I can use the, because I know which one it is. Okay, that's the basic idea. We can call some nouns specified automatically because, okay, well, for these reasons. First, because we know that the listener understands the context or the situation. Very basically, if you're both sitting together at a table and you say, pass the salt, you share knowledge of what salt we're talking about because it's right there on the table in front of you. That's basically the idea. You can assume the listener knows specifically which one because either it's extremely obvious because you can see it, or because situationally speaking, it's extremely obvious. If you live in Canada, for example, and you just say to someone, the Prime Minister will arrive tomorrow, will arrive in our city, it can be assumed, since you live in Canada, you're talking about the specific Prime Minister of Canada. Plus, there's only one of them. That's the other specific thing. If there's only one anyway, then there can't be a general member of the group. So if it's quite, in other words, basically, if it's obvious, it's specific, we can choose the. And as I said, there's only one prime minister. Unique objects are always preceded with the. Again, because we can assume the listener knows which specific one. So when I say the sun is very hot today, obviously I'm not talking about a sun in Alpha Centauri. I'm talking about the sun which is in the sky. It's very obvious. I know it's obvious to the listener. So words like the sun, the earth, the pope, the sky, the equator, clearly I'm talking about only one. So, all right, it should be obvious, again, to the listener, it's specific. And then a third area is with superlative adjectives, where because the adjective describes one unique thing, it has to be one. So again, it's obvious to the listener. There can only be one of the tallest, the best, the first. Granted, you can say the second best, the fourth tallest building, but still that means there's only one fourth tallest. Again, your adjective is defining one unique noun, whatever it is. Okay. Are you got Mustafa has joined us. Hi, Mustafa. Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm kind of going through the more general basic rules of when to use the. Okay, number one, is it specific? Is it obvious to the listener, more importantly, that it's specific? Or is it general? Number two, is the noun modified? If you have another determiner, this, that, those, these, or a quantifier, some, any, each, every, or a pronoun, possessive pronoun, my, her, his, mine, you do not use an article, either, any article, a, an, or the. Do not use any article. This should say, not just the definite article. Do not use any article. You already have what's called a determiner. It determines which one. So there's no reason. Okay, so if it's pre-modified, if there's one of these things in front of it or one of these types of things, there are certainly other quantifiers and certainly other possessive pronouns. If one of these precedes a noun, no article. Okay, and what we might call post-modification, the easiest one to understand is a dependent clause or a relative clause. A defining relative clause, which explains or defines the noun, well, means that it's specific, it's defined. So it's kind of obvious that we can use the, because the definition is in the sentence. Okay. Sometimes it is good enough. Well, for example here, the man who lives next door is Chinese. The relative clause here in the middle of the sentence, the dependent clause, who lives next door actually defines the man. So we've made him specific. We've actually defined him. We can also use prepositional phrases. Sometimes prepositional phrases work, and sometimes they don't. We take the regular collection of garbage for granted. Okay, notice the. Well, in this case, of garbage defines what collection it is pretty well enough for understanding. All right. In this example, the journey to Vancouver takes 3 days by train. Now, okay, it's defined enough, but what if, the thing is, what if we remove by train? The journey to Vancouver takes 3 days. Guess what? Journey how? By horse? By train? By car? By plane? By submarine? I have no idea. Here, without by train here, the is not really viable. It's not defined enough just by saying to Vancouver. All right. Now, granted, if you're already in a conversation about Vancouver, if you're already talking about using the train, then clearly the can be used. Again, remember that if the first mention of a noun, you're not going to use the definite article. But if it's already in context, of course, you would still use the. But here, the sentence by itself, it's a little tricky. Does a prepositional phrase define it enough? Does it make it one specific thing, identifiable and specific? If we remove by train, I don't think it does. In my opinion, it does not. There's many ways to journey to Vancouver still. As opposed to collecting garbage in our last, okay, you're collecting something. Garbage is pretty specific enough for me. Okay. Exception, collective nouns, we have to say things like a box of matches, a deck of cards, a bar of soap. Okay, in this case, this is another exception. Obviously, in this case, all right, we are using an article, the indefinite article, but we're using it for the collective noun, noun that describes a group. Okay, the third thing to remember. All right, one, does it already have a determiner? One, is it specific? Two, if it already has a determiner, do not use an article. Three, is the noun generic? In that case, you're generalizing, such as often happens in academic papers or writing a description in business or writing a summary in business, something like that. When you're talking about generalities, then there's a number of ways to do it. The easiest and most common way in spoken English, if it is a countable noun, you just use a plural. Okay, dogs are good pets. That's it. I'm talking about all dogs in general. Just use a plural. If it's an uncountable, then you use no article. All right? Love can cause a lot of suffering. I don't need to say a love, the love. It's an uncountable. Water is a healthy beverage. Okay? Not a water, the water. These are the common and normal ways to do it. It is possible to do it in other ways by counting. A gymnast used the indefinite article with the singular countable noun. But you have to be a little careful with this one because sometimes it can be wrong. For example, you cannot say a lion lives in Africa. You cannot use this method if you're talking about the existence of a thing that is part of a group. It won't work. It will be confusing. So this can be a problem. This is extremely formal, and I would basically, unless you're writing a textbook, I would forget about it. It's astonishing what the gymnasts can do. You might hear somebody speak this in a documentary, for example, or you might read it in a textbook. For practical purposes, it's fairly useless. I count this as more of an exception. The last one is specifically for nationalities or groups of people. Could be religious groups or ethnic groups, whatever. To talk about that group of people, we use the. That's more of an exception. All right. Basically, the rule is if you're talking in general, basically you just use plurals or no article. You use no article, plural with countables and no article with uncountables. It's a lot easier in basic English. All right. Actually, that was all review. So now today's lesson, finally, special uses of articles. Let me welcome Mariam. Is it Mariam?
Yes.
Hi, Mariam.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank
Hi.
you. Thanks for joining us. All right.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you.
All right. Ken has also joined us. Hi, Ken.
Yes, hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, okay. We're going to get into everything I've talked about so far was general uses of the. Now, very specific, special uses, maybe some exceptions. Some of these may run counter to what I just spent 20 minutes talking about. So it may be a little confusing. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. Or if you're more comfortable, write a question in the Verbling chat box, and I will address it. I will try to make it as clear as possible, but we're talking about exceptions and special uses, so sometimes the logic really isn't there. Okay, well, let's take a look. First, related to media and communication. If we're talking about systems of communication and mass media, not the actual machine or device, but the system, we tend to use the. For example, the system is the telephone is a system of communication, is a correct sentence, even if it's the first sentence. If you're talking about the actual thing you hold in your hand, a telephone is the actual physical machine. Do you see the difference? So when we're talking about a whole system, the newspapers are all in agreement on the latest financial disaster. For example, can you guys give me another example? What's another one where we use the? What's another system of mass media or communication? Heidi? Can you give me another example?
The?
Yeah. Used to speak about a system of communication, like the telephone or the newspapers.
The internet?
Yeah, great one. Exactly. The internet is very useful. Great. Even first sentence, we need to use the, always. Not an internet. Okay. Right, but we say an internet connection because that's one thing.
The internet
Not a
is
system.
our life.
There you go. Precisely. Okay. Mustafa, can you think of any others? The internet, the newspapers, the telephone.
The radio become an old invention.
You-
We can't use it till now.
well, we can. I still listen to the radio, but yeah, the radio. Okay, the radio was okay.
The radio,
The radio, oh, all right, has existed for years. All right,
yes.
okay. All right, yeah, all right, great. Miriam, can you think of another system of communication or mass media that we may use?
The TV.
Ah, the TV. Well, okay. Ah, haha, I was waiting for you to say that.
Ah, okay, television.
There's an exception. Nasty, nasty English grammar exceptions. Television usually has no article. I don't know why. Why is it an exception? I have no idea. Did you see him on TV, for example? Okay. We just don't use an article. I was watching TV last night, not watching a TV or watching the TV. We just say, I was watching TV last night and I saw. That was a trick. I was waiting for one of you guys to fall into my trap. Aha! I gotcha. All right. Ken, one more?
On the web.
The web. Okay. Like the internet? Sure. That's true. Very good. The World Wide Web. The web. Absolutely. Okay. Another maybe exception is film. If we're talking about film as a mass media, film is an important entertainment. Is an important form of entertainment. Okay, but notice when we say movies, we say the movies. I went to the movies last night. We do use the, and that's basically mass media. So that's another possible exception. Okay, let's talk about another special use. Relative to transportation. If you're talking about, again, here's an underlying theme that may help you to remember. If you're talking about the system, all right, the system rather than an individual vehicle, how long will it take on the bus? The subway is quicker. All right. Okay. And a kind of special rule here. If you use the construction by, which is very common in English, by plus whatever the transportation is, you do not use an article. All right. I go by subway. I'm going to the island by boat. Okay. You can say by foot, but we often say on foot. I'm going to whatever. I'm going to the mall on foot. You might hear on foot, and again, obviously there's no article. I'm going there on foot. You can say by foot too. So, okay, when you use by and the transportation, no article necessary. Or actually, having an article would sound weird, by the subway. Okay, so basically, by, okay. It's very common to say by and the transportation too, by the way. Okay, another one, if forms of entertainment to refer to a form of entertainment in general, almost like the system. You can't really say a system, but form, close to the same idea. You use the definite article. I enjoy seeing the ballet. However, obviously, if you're talking about a specific event, you can't do this. It's for a general idea. It was a good movie last night. Okay, I enjoy the ballet, the opera. These are common. I enjoy going to the movies. All right, it's entertainment, very close. In fact, can overlap with talking about mass media, like movies. The movies, is it entertainment or is it the media? Well, it's both, so whatever, whichever way you want to think about it. Okay. All right, place or the object of activity nouns. What does this mean? Okay, well, let's just take a look here. All right, I go to bed at 11 o'clock. Okay, I'm actually, what I mean in English when we say go to bed, I need to go to bed, he's in bed, what time do you go to bed? We're talking about what time do you go to sleep. We're actually not even considering or thinking about the physical piece of furniture, as in don't jump on the bed. That's a specific piece of furniture. So we're talking about the concept of sleep in this first sentence. No article. The general concept of sleep. Okay, look at the second sentence. She went to school for many years. The school was too small. It's very common for English speakers to say, oh, where's Johnny? Johnny's in school. Not Johnny's in the school or Johnny's in a school. Johnny's in school. Why? Because what we're really talking about, what we're really concerned with is the concept of education, the general idea of school, not the specific place. If we're talking about the specific building, physical building, then we use the. Dinner. Okay. Strangely enough, here's one that oddly enough, we're thinking about the concept of eating that particular meal. We eat dinner at 5 o'clock. What do you want for breakfast? I had lunch already. Whatever. Okay. For these meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and brunch, we could throw brunch into the mix. If you're talking about a very specific dinner, the dinner that Hillary made was delicious, very specific, then we use the. This does not work for everything you eat. Obviously, foods, we need to use normal rules for using articles or a snack. I have a snack at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, I generally have a snack. I can't say I generally have snack at 3 o'clock. It won't work. But it will work with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And brunch and supper. Okay. Again, the idea is you're concerned with the general concept of eating a meal at that time. Breakfast, same thing. She's in class, that's the same thing as school. Okay. Church. All right. Well, you're concerned with the general idea of religious worship, not the actual physical structure. The church is very old. Okay. This can be confusing because places, okay, is it a concept or am I talking about the physical place? All right. Generally speaking, school, class, church. For the word hospital, British people say my aunt is in hospital, but Americans say my aunt is in the hospital. So occasionally, there are also differences in cultural use, colloquial use. All right, that's an example, especially in this area of special use. The big one is hospital. Sometimes, depending on how it's being used, university. British tend to not say the. Americans tend to say the. Okay. Again, because it's a concept. All right, directions. This is also confusing. Nouns that indicate directions do not take the definite article. Okay, go 2 blocks south. Noun in question is south, and turn left. Left here is actually a noun. Okay. I know left can be an adjective, but here it's a noun. Weird exception. Weird exception is that when we're using left as the noun to indicate political divisions, we do use an article. She's on the left of the party. It's not about direction here. It's about political affiliation. Okay. This is a little bit of a tough one. So give me as simple a sentence as you can. Okay. Give me directions a little bit. Heidi, I don't know, directions to something near you. I don't know, a neighborhood market or...
Mm.
Go pick something. I don't know.
The south or something. South.
Yeah, anything. Okay. Well, how would you give directions to whatever, your
My house is
nearest bank, or I don't know, whatever?
my house is at the south of the street, no?
Ah, okay. Now, see, this can be confusing. All right. This can be confusing because when we use them in a prepositional phrase, like in that, okay, you would normally say, this is why I wanted somebody to give me an example. My house is on the south end of the street. My house is in the south.
In the south.
Okay, let's do that. Now here I'm using it in a prepositional phrase. My house is in the south. South is a noun here, but I'm using the because it's part of a prepositional phrase. Notice in the first example, they're not part of a prepositional phrase. So this is what is confusing about using the with directions, because it's very normal to use prepositional phrases of place to show place. Obviously, it's very normal thing to do. If it's in a prepositional phrase, you will probably use an article, because there's one south. There's no other direction south. There's only one. It's like saying the sun, the moon, the earth, the south, the equator. There's only one. Okay. Notice the difference. You're actually showing where it is. In the first sentence, you're actually giving directions. So that's the difference. Okay, go 2 blocks south, take a right. Take a right. Oh, see, I use a. Okay, take a right, go 2 blocks. Now I'm using 2. Go a block. Okay, so all right, we do use a, but we do not use the. But see, okay, so sometimes we use a. You will hear directions though, like this. Take the first. Take the first right. Okay, well this is normal because I'm using an adjective which demands there's only one. There can only be one first. Now I have to use the. So this one with directions is kind of confusing. Yeah, it's really something you have to just get used to hearing, when to use the and a and nothing. Generally speaking, if you're actually giving directions, you will use no article or a sometimes. Take a left, turn left. It's more of a matter of collocation, which verb you're using. Go left, no article. Turn left, no article. Take a left. There's the indefinite article. Not really. It's a matter of collocation. If you're describing where something is, that's not really giving directions. You're going to use the articles a and the, no article, just the same way you normally do. Okay. I hope that's about as clear as I can make that. Sorry about that. Periods of time. All right. Names of decades, centuries, historic periods. Take the definite article, as they're considered anyway a form of unique reference. The 1960s were a time of student rebellion, for example. Okay, Mustafa, can you give me another whatever centuries, historic periods, a short sentence with one of these using
the medieval is the period between 1400 and 16.
Okay, the medieval period. Yes, exactly. We would always say, no matter they spell medieval. Okay, whatever. Yes, you would always say, so you wouldn't say medieval is the period, you would say medieval period is the period. Both. Okay, the medieval period, right. The Paleozoic area, the Jurassic era, the Bronze Age,
The Renaissances.
the Renaissance, yes,
The Renaissance.
the Bronze Age, the Stone Age,
The Bronze
all
Age,
of these.
the
Dinosaur, the age of the age of the dinosaurs, the
Rock Age.
Mesozoic. We call that the Stone Age.
The Stone Age, yes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. The 1960s. Okay. Centuries. The 1700s. Like that. That's the idea. That's pretty solid. No weird exceptions. Okay. For periods of time. Obviously, for 1 year, 1969 was a great year. I don't need an article. I know it's a year. It's 365 days. It's a period of time, but okay, only for basically eras, ages, things of that nature. Okay. Okay. Again, we use the definite article in front of a noun when we believe the hearer or reader knows exactly what we're referring to. Okay, we already talked about this. If there's only one, we tend to use the tallest boy, the oldest building, the Pope. If we use an adjective that makes it only one, okay, let's look at some examples. Because there's only one in that place or in those surroundings. Situational use, for example. Situational, this is kind of the difficult one to talk about because it's all about the context, where you are, when you are, who you're talking to when you say it. All right. We live in a small village next to the church. Okay. Just seeing this, I can assume one of many small villages in your province, country, whatever, next to the church. I can assume there's really only one church in this small village. All right. Okay, because there is only one. All right. Dad, can I borrow the car? Well, clearly you're asking your dad in the car. It's obvious from the context that the car is the car that your dad owns, so we know which one it is. It's defined. It's obvious from the situational use. Okay, when we stayed at my grandmother's house, we went to the beach every day. It's okay, there's obviously a beach right next to your grandmother's house. Clearly, that's the one we're talking to. So, in situations like this, all right, look. Okay, with places, for example, the mall. If there's 5 malls in your city, then, you know, it's possible, depending on the actual context, to say I'm going to the mall. If I say that to my wife, I'm probably talking to them about the mall that we usually normally go to. All right? The context is there. We have a history of going to that mall. And then it'd be very normal. I'm going to the mall. If I'm talking to one of you guys and you're in the class, you're talking about your own city, I have no idea which mall you're talking about. So if you're talking to me, you should say, I'm going to a mall after class, because I don't know which one. Remember, it's all about what you think the listener knows. So sometimes using a or using the, it depends on who you're talking to in the context. All right, imagine you're actually pointing your finger at somebody. You would use the. Look at the boy in the blue shirt over there. I'm actually pointing to him, and you can see him with your eyes. Okay, and obviously, if we've already mentioned it, then we're going to use it. Okay. Another specific use. Musical instruments. This one's weird, and this one is often ignored, frankly. Joe plays the piano really well. Joe plays piano really well. I wouldn't really worry about this one too much. This is a specific use of the, which I think, I don't know, maybe British people always say the when they say an instrument, but I will tell you Americans do not. You're very likely to hear she is learning guitar or she is learning the guitar, either one. Very common for Americans, anyway. All right, we already talked about that. Here's another one we haven't talked about. Yes, we did talk about it with adjectives like rich, poor, elderly. Okay. Specific groups of people. Life can be very hard for the poor. This is like kind of like saying the Chinese are the most populous nation in the world. Okay. I think the rich should pay more taxes. All right, talking about a specific group of people, we can use the. Okay, another definite article with names. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky with, obviously, people's names. William Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. Obviously, we don't. We don't with cities, with a couple of exceptions. The Hague, okay, is The Hague. That's the name. Paris is the capital of France. We don't use the with country names unless the country name has something that identifies parts, or something specific. The Kingdom of, the Republic of, the United States of America, the Republic of China. Then we use the. If it doesn't have some kind of word that describes parts, then country names, no article. Continents, no article. Iran is in Asia. However, as I said, Kingdom, States, Republic, the Kingdom of Nepal, the Republic of China. Countries which have plural names, plural nouns as their name, the Netherlands, the Philippines. Okay, there they are. Yeah. Geographical features. All right, now this is tricky. Okay. Mountain ranges, the Alps, the Himalayas. But individual mountains, never the. Okay, Mount Kilimanjaro. Sometimes it's Mount, sometimes it's the name mountain. All right, Humpback Mountain. Okay, Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever. No article. Groups of islands, but not individual islands. Okay, the Canaries. All right, if you're talking about islands, For example, if I'm talking about Japan, it's just Japan. If I'm talking about the islands, the Japanese islands, the is used. If I'm talking about one island, no the. Rivers have the Mississippi, the Amazon, the Nile. The Black Sea, the Red Sea. Okay, seas have the. And oceans, the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, etc. Okay, so water basically uses the. You can think of it that way. Other strange specific uses, the Times, the Washington Post, the names of newspapers usually has the Wall Street Journal. Also, buildings, the Empire State Building. Okay, the Taj Mahal. Works of art, the Mona Lisa, the sunflowers. And some organizations, the United Nations, the Seamen's Union. Okay, these are obviously names where the is used. Sometimes hotels, pubs, and restaurants. Okay, the Ritz, the King's Head, the Deja Vu. We normally use the, but not always. Sometimes, like where I'm going to Hector's, maybe it's called Hector's Bar. It would be very normal to not use the. This is more formal. If you're speaking more formally, or it's a more formal establishment, as in the Ritz Hotel, a very classy, expensive hotel. We do not use the definite article if the name of the hotel or restaurant is also the name of the owner. If it's a person's, or seems to be, a person's actual name, as in Brown's Hotel, Morel's Restaurant. Okay, well, then we do not use the article. All right. And last of all, to talk about families as a group or as a unit, the Obamas, the Jacksons, what have you, then we use the and a plural, by the way. The name is Obama, Barack Obama, but when we talk about his family, the Obamas, we use a plural form. It's basically how to do it. Okay, that was a whole lot of material, kind of crazy. Does anybody have any questions about anything we've covered? There's a lot of special uses, I know.
How about the restaurant? A restaurant the same as bed? I go to restaurant, not specific, but I go to the restaurant. I already know that restaurant.
Okay, well, again, it depends all in context.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I know you work, again, it's what the listener knows. If I know you work in a restaurant, then you saying I'm going to the restaurant, I would automatically know what you're talking about, right? Depends on context. You know, if you don't even know what restaurant, my husband and I are going out to a restaurant on Saturday. If you don't know, then certainly the listener doesn't know. So you would never use the. If you yourself don't know, that's automatic. You can't use the because how would your listener know? Right. So it depends. The restaurant we were looking at, the names of restaurants. Okay. Trying to think. Okay. Now, I'm going to McDonald's. You would never say, I'm going to the McDonald's. Okay. Generally, with hotels and restaurants, chain restaurants, something like that, you would never use the. I'm going to Applebee's. I'm going to McDonald's. I'm going to Pizza Hut. You don't use the for those things. So, you know, chains where there's many of the thing, you would just never use the, because we don't care which McDonald's you go to, they're all exactly the same. So no one would bother to be specific, quite honestly. unless you're meeting somebody. For example, all right, I'll meet you at the McDonald's, which is next to the bank on Spear Street. In that case, you would say the, because you want to be specific. So the whole thing with hotels and restaurants, really, frankly, I only hear the used when it's a very expensive, distinctive, and specific. The Waldorf, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in New York. Okay, it's basically world-renowned. It's very fancy. But, okay, for just any restaurant or hotel or whatever, not really. Okay, you really wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, let's. We've got a few minutes. Let's just zip through. Let's try a little bit of an exercise or two. See what we can do with articles. In this case, it may be you have a choice, A or B. Maybe no article, maybe the. Let's try it and discuss it. Heidi, number one.
I'm not going to work tomorrow.
No article.
Like go to bed. No.
Yes, that's correct. It's exactly right. Yes, we're concerned with the concept of work, not the actual place or what you do, for that matter. But that's right. No article. Great. Mustafa, number two.
Did you do the work that I asked you to do?
Okay, now it's specific. It's defined. And frankly, we have that I asked you to do. We have a defining clause, a relative clause here, which defines the noun. So whichever way you want to think about it in your brain, it's specified. Yeah, you're correct. The. Ken, okay, I know our lesson's mostly been about the, but okay, or no article?
He's a really good swimmer.
One of many possible good swimmers in the world. Okay. Correct. Very good. Heidi, 4.
No article. He's really good at math.
Okay. Yeah. He is really good.
It's adjective.
It's an adjective. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, where's the noun? Why would we need an article? Yeah, I fooled myself with this one. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I trying to talk about? Right. At math here is in a prepositional phrase. You don't have to concern yourself with that. That's not the following noun. There is no following noun, so there can't be an article. Right. Thank you. Very good. Mustafa, number 5.
Number 4, please, again.
You can disregard at math. It's a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase is a preposition followed by a noun. I mean, there may be an adjective or whatever, an adverb and an adjective, but basically, preposition followed by a noun, that's a separate entity from the sentence. It can be removed from the sentence. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, it's defining something. It's helping you understand something. What really follows the verb, he is really good. Really good is an adjective. You only use articles for nouns. That's the purpose of articles. So
For
he
nouns
is
only.
for nouns only. That's it. That's the idea.
Yeah, okay.
You don't even have to think about an article if there's no noun. And conversely, if you see an article and you have a fill-in-the-blank exercise, you know there must be a noun that follows an article. There has to be. They go together. They're glued together. Yeah. Okay. All right. Mustafa, number 5.
Yes. I can't come to I can't come to the party.
Right. Very good. In this case, it's been defined enough because you're saying on Friday. Plus, it's the context. It's very likely that somebody's talking directly to the person having a party.
We mentioned before.
Okay, what if I said, instead of come here, Mustafa, what if I said I can't go to a party on Friday? What is the meaning?
I can't go to the party. A party?
A party.
That means that you don't. That we are going to outside, but we don't mention to the place that we go.
Well, if I said I can't go to a party on Friday, I mean any party.
Any party.
I don't have the time to go to parties on Friday. I can't go to any party on Friday. Not just your party, any party.
Yeah, any party.
All right. So it's possible to say that, and it makes sense. Oh, we're going to go out. There's 3 parties on Friday. You should come with us. I can't do that. I have too much work to do. I can't go to a party on Friday, any party, regardless of where it is or what it is, you see. Okay, Ken, number 6.
He invited me to a party at his house.
Okay, one of many. And frankly, this could be no article as well, Ken, because at least Americans use party as a verb. Oh, he wants to party. Let's party.
Yeah.
Party on, Garth. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's party. Okay. Actually, the right answer to this is both. Okay, Heidi, how about number 7 here?
Many boys like to play football. No article.
Okay, why?
Usual boys, not special, not.
Well, boys is plural. That's why. You never put an article with a. It's possible to put the if you're talking about a particular group. The boys who are playing football on the street. It is possible to use the. But if you're talking about general, which we are here, it's general, no article, with plural nouns. That's right. Okay, Mustafa, number 8.
Many of the boys in my class play football. Many of the boys.
Yeah, it's been specified. We know who they are. They're the boys in your class, right? As a group. Okay, Ken, number 9.
He went on vacation to Spain. No article.
No article. Country name. Right. And last, Heidi.
This is the last time I'm going to tell you this.
Yes. Okay. The word time is very confusing when using articles because it can be uncountable when we're talking in general. Time heals all wounds. No article. It's uncountable. Time in general. When we're talking about specific occasions, then it becomes specific. Okay, this specific occasion. This is the last time. It's specific. It's specific also because of the adjective. There can only be one last.
This is the first time. This is the second time. This is the third time. Or we put the.
Yes, precisely. Right, because the adjective defines it as one specific thing. You got it. That's it. Excellent. Okay, I hope you learned a little bit about how special the is. My time is up. Thank you very much. I know that was kind of a grueling lesson. I appreciate your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.